Cool. Hey, all right, let's start. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Founder Bounty podcast. Today I have my guest, Charles. Charles
Hi
has
everyone.
Charles has been going. He's been growing, and it's going to be a really interesting story today about how he started, where he's going, where he wants to get to, and some good advice on to little bits on the way about how to work it out to make sure that you can reach to where you want to go. So we will start with a couple of questions. These are my guests. Niels as well is on the line.
I guess.
Niels. We'll start off with the basic background, really, Charles, about yourself, about where you're located, and why you moved there, and kind of just give us a little background about yourself. Yeah, that would be a good start.
Sure, definitely. Well, actually, I know Vlad from back in the UK. We went to school together, a place called European School, and it's somewhat because of him that I'm here in Colombia. On one of those few nights, I actually um,
That's
very
true.
much
Yeah,
encouraged by Vladimir.
you never went out much, man. Pull you
And
out.
he managed to call me out. I just wanted to stay in, play some video games or whatever. Vlad was like, "No, let's go out." I think he'd just been dumped, all the more motivation to go out. And I was like, "Okay, let's go out." And that's where in the nightclub I set my eyes on what's now my wife. 12 years after that, and she's Colombian, and I moved to Colombia 10 years ago to be with her. So yeah, Vlad introduced us. I'm pretty shy, so I told Vlad, "Hey, go up to them and ask them a few questions. Just check out if they're single and whatnot." And he did, and he came back to me just his head down. He's like, "They don't speak a word of English," so I thought, okay, it's going to be difficult. But yeah, she's Colombian, and so I spoke a tiny little bit of Portuguese. She spoke a little bit of English, and between the two, we managed to exchange a few ideas, and we definitely hit it off. That's where it started.
There you go, man. Well, let's celebrate this marriage. Congratulations. First of all, that's a really really
Absolutely.
amazing and
Congratulations, man.
special moment for everyone.
Thank you.
Can't wait to potentially come to Colombia to wedding in the summer. And then how
That'd be
did
great
things
to have you.
there when you were in Colombia? Like, what's the vibe down there like? How different is that from the European vibe of things?
So my wife's called Melissa, and she was in the UK for 1 year doing an exchange in order to improve her English, to learn English. So eventually she had to go, and I was left with a decision as to what should I do. We spent a year apart, and then eventually I decided to visit her. So I went to Colombia, and we just fell madly in love completely. So as soon as I came back to London, I decided to close shop. I was working as an osteopath, so I handed over my positions. I was also working as a university teacher for my college. Everything I just started to close and focus in Colombia with absolutely no Spanish, no job prospect, nothing. Um, I guess the lesson there is follow your heart, and it was probably the
There
easiest
you go.
decision
That's a
I
good
ever did.
piece of
People
advice,
telling me
right?
you're crazy. I think I've always done that for big decisions. I've followed my heart over my brains, and it's always been fruitful. I was basically in a position where I can't live without her, obviously, or I
Mhm.
can stay in London and just be miserable. I was like, F it, I'll just go to Colombia and try it out. So I did. No Spanish, and once I arrived there, all right, I need to make some money. My savings running out, and I thought, I don't care, I'll do whatever as long as I can be with her. That was my mentality. So I was going to park cars, I was going to sweep the floor, anything just to be with her. and
That's amazing.
she had a cousin who worked as a model, and she said, "Hey, Charles, you're not that ugly. Perhaps you could try going for an interview." Um, so we met with the owner of a modeling agency, and he was like, "Yeah, you need to lose a little bit of weight, trim your waist down, do this, do that." And then within 1 week, I was just standing in my boxes in front of a camera with no idea how to pose. There's no academy, there's no teachings, just do it. And that's how it started. But a parenthesis in that is the fact that I guess in Colombia they're perhaps not too exigent. I don't think in Europe I could be modeling, or in the USA. I'm slightly different here. I'm maybe a little bit over the average height, perhaps a little bit more muscular, but that's it. I'm nothing special. I'm just slightly different to the Colombians. I appeal to the public here, and it's been a very successful 10-year career because yeah, there was a niche in the market and I filled it. There's definitely
Hmm.
a paucity of male models, and there still is in Colombia. So I was able to get in there. In terms of female models,
Very beautiful girls here.
but
Guys, it's
pretty rare. So that's how I got in.
Right. Right. Okay.
That's
Well, if that's
pure
not if that's not incentive for people to move to Colombia, I don't know what it is, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got good-looking women.
But it's true though. Like, do you feel that perhaps the success of your modeling career has really depended upon choosing your market and focusing on that market niche? Would you say?
There was no conscious choosing on my part. It was
Mhm.
pretty much luck. I was very lucky
Mhm.
to the fact that my wife is Colombian and that I landed in Medellin where there's very few male models and I just hit it off. If someone is an aspiring model, I think, yeah, you should definitely look for your niche. I think most people can probably model. There's brands that need models for their products, and there's so many
Mhm.
products out there. So find your niche definitely, and I wouldn't alter your physique according to the client too much. If you need to cut your hair a little bit, that's fine, or trim your beard. But drastical changes, I think that's you don't need to do that. Just find the client that
Mhm.
appreciates you for who you are, as corny as it may sound. But they're out there. Yeah.
And
What
also
it
it brings to mind. I was just going to say, it brings to mind that perhaps sometimes you can be modeling for specific things that we don't think about, like just for your hands, for example,
Yep.
for jewelry, things like this, and people sometimes don't really uh, appreciate the full extent of what you can be doing as a model, and it's not just a swimsuit and classic runway stuff.
Exactly, and I think that you can look at it as an extra
Hmm.
income for your whatever career you have. Personally, I wouldn't rely 100% on modeling. I think it's a very ephemeral career.
Hmm.
You can burn out pretty quickly. Styles can change, so it's good to have a plan B and to not depend 100% on that income. To try and save, maybe invest in something else, have something alongside. But it's a good extra. It's definitely a good extra.
Hmm.
And depending on how commercial you are, you might be working 3, 4, 5 days a week, or you might be working, one photo
quite
shoot a
out there?
month, but it's a little bit more.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I think your bandwidth is a bit slow, Vlad. But yeah, maybe we can crack on.
Sure.
So basically, yeah, I wanted to kind of give some feedback on what you just said about any type of artistic endeavor or project that will make you some money. Um, I mean, I completely follow you when you say that it's smarter to not bank everything 100% on this. As you said, it's uh, it's very fluctuating and has quite a limited time span on the length of your career that you can do as a professional model. And I would just wanted to add on that by saying that whatever your, let's say, side hustle is, or artistic endeavor, it's always smart to keep a plan B, whatever it is, whatever the field is.
I'd have a plan B, C, D, E. A lot of mentors I read anyway, they talk about generating a stream of income, and all those streams add up. And if that's what you're pursuing, if money is what you're pursuing, I think it's good to definitely not have all your eggs in one basket, and just, especially the pandemic, we learned after that people who were too heavily reliant on a particular sector that was affected by the pandemic, that can be quite disastrous for one's economy. So it's good to vary your portfolio, have a little bit of diversity in your income. Definitely.
How much of your is 100% of your income now from modeling, or do you still have kind of going, and how would you foresee, the growth about where you want to go? Have, let's say US agents approach you yet? Is that just a stepping stone for you, or is Colombia something kind of the market that you want to take over?
Well, I just want to precise the fact that I'm extremely grateful for the modeling, but I am zero passionate about it. I have no passion for it whatsoever. Very grateful, but no passion. It's standing in front of a camera posing. It's cool, but it doesn't fill me. So I was clear from day one. And I really want to stress the point that I'm extremely grateful for it, because it provided me with sufficient income to do what is now my main focus, which is property development. And I'm big into sustainability, environmental projects, furniture as well. I have a furniture brand that I've just set up. So that's kind of what interests me, and that's what I'm going towards. So percentage-wise, you asked me, it's pretty evenly distributed now between my property development, the rentals, and the furniture business, and the modeling. So those are my income streams. I know that if one fails, I have the other backups. And I'm hoping to retire from modeling within the next years and just work with clients that I really like. So out of 10 clients, for example, there's 2 or 3 that I might say, yeah, these guys are really cool. I love working with them. The crew's amazing. The photographer's a cool guy or girl. And then there's other brands that I used to do for the money, and now I might just be like, you know what, thank you, but I'll just do something else. So that's the position I want to be in the next couple of years.
In terms of the modeling, though, itself, let's say, I mean, what is the kind of, where do you see it going? Do you see the kind
for
of
me
period,
or
like,
for general?
Well, for you in general, and then maybe as on a broader scale. But do you see, what would you say, let's say, a younger model that's trying to enter the space, what would be the best kind of way to go about it? What would he have to do?
And this is a point of contention or debate between models, whether or not to have a model agency when you start off. I would say so, at least for the first few years, especially if you're going to be in one spot. So if you choose your city, let's say New York, for example, and you want a model there, those agencies have all the content. Another X model is very hard for you to come by, and it kind of legitimizes your presence in the market. It becomes more official. So I would start off finding a good agency. I think talking to other models, you're going to find out in whatever region you're looking at which is the best agency, and then based on that, take a decision. Bear in mind that there are some agencies that are pretty crappy or have bad percentage rates, or you have some agencies, for example, their business is pretty much just to accept everyone on their books, and they'll charge you to take pictures, very well knowing that they'll never promote you because you're
That's what I've heard, actually.
Useless for their clients, let's say. I'm not saying ugly, because no one's ugly. You're not useful for their clients, but they know that if they do a photo shoot for you, they can charge $1,000 or whatever, and they do that to 1,000 people. There you go. So that's, you need to be wary of people who sell you dreams, because a lot of people are, they really want to get into it and it's their dream. So I think that's sad to play on people's dreams. So you can mitigate that by talking to other models, finding out which agencies are good, which ones are not, and then trying to get a step in there. Usually, if they're a good agency, they'll be upfront and they'll say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I don't think you'll be able to work with us for such and such reason. Maybe you're too tall. Maybe we're looking for someone who's a little bit shorter, or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. It's usually, from what I understand from the industry, is if a good agency is interested by you, or if you get scouted in the street, if you're a newbie, usually they would never ask you for money to do a portfolio for you or things like this. If they're
It doesn't
interested by
make
your
sense because they're
profile,
going to make money off you. So
exactly,
why would they?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, for anybody who's interested, if an agency is scouting you and asking you for money to build the portfolio for you, then you should be wary of that agency.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay,
And
so the best advice is really go talk to other models, get inside information into which agencies are actually useful, and then from
yeah,
there, take the next step. Okay, cool.
yeah. And then you have agencies that so basically you have the mother agency, and then you have offshoots in different countries. Um, so if you're attracted by the idea of traveling with modeling, that's a great option. I have a lot of buddies who they'll spend 3 months in Mexico, then they'll come to Medellin, then they'll be off to New York, and they'll just do photo shoots here and there, and that's for them. That's a really cool deal. So that's another option as well. You get to travel the world, you get to meet new people, you generate an income, um, and that works very well for the agencies. And if it suits you, then it's great. It's a great combo.
It's quite a social job, isn't it? Right. So you keep always interacting with new people, different countries, different cultures. So this is something that if it's something you're looking for, it's definitely a good fit.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think if you like traveling and meeting new people, 100%, that can be a really cool option. Yeah.
If someone wants to grow their career in modeling, let's say, and end up in catwalks and really focus on, let's say, a full-time modeling career, what would you say is the kind of best way to go about that? Is it turning up to fashion shows, or is it working with your agency, or getting a manager, or becoming an influencer? What do you think is the quickest way to
Okay.
get out?
Well, again, I think it depends on the niche you're going for. So, for example, in my case, I'm 6'1", so I'm just on the limit for catwalks, and I hate catwalks, so I don't do that. Catwalks aren't my thing. So if you're an aspiring model and you love catwalks, okay, you need to be a certain height usually, and that's your thing. You can do catwalks. I'm not saying you have to limit yourself to that, but you need to know your niche. You have commercial shoots, you have catwalks, and then you have conceptual photography that's more artistic. Where the money is really the commercial stuff. So you get a brand. Doesn't have to be a big brand. It can be a local brand, a local Colombian brand. They have a catalog they need to produce bi-monthly or every month or whatever, and they need a model to put their clothes on, take photos, and that's pretty much your client on a monthly basis. That's where the money is, and you start accumulating these clients, and that's commercial photography. That's what I do. Then you have catwalks, which is a completely different thing. And then you have editoriales, we say here in Spanish, which is like a conceptual, artistic style photography, which is also completely different. So whatever appeals to you, whether you want the money or the catwalks or the artistic side, you can start directing yourself towards that. So if you want to be a catwalk model, I would recommend you talk to the agencies and mention that that is your interest.
Right.
Find models that do that as well. So, or if you want to do a bit of everything, which is possible, you can do. I've done catwalks, I've done editoriales, and if you fit for it, but it really depends on what you want and also what the client thinks your destiny is in terms of your usefulness.
Of course, they'll have a better marketability or vision of the marketability of your profile.
Yeah.
Would you work through just one particular agent that would have, let's say, all their links to brands? Let's say a brand Coca-Cola wanted to promote a product, and everything would go through that one agent, or would your contracts be spread to multiple agents? How does that work?
Ideally, I would be with everyone because that would benefit me. But the clients are usually quite possessive because you're their product, so they don't want to share you with the whole market. It really depends on your mother agency. Some of them have alliances with other agency. That's usually how it works. Others are extremely exclusive. You have to sign a contract saying that if you work for someone else, then this and this consequence will be implemented. It depends on the agency. It's very important that when you decide to affiliate yourself with an agency, you read the contract. How long is the exclusivity for? What are the legal consequences if you know, do something
You're
such
right,
as
cut your contract.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
So right now, personally, I am independent, not because I wanted to, because my agency shut down, because I was the only model who was actually respecting the contract. All the other models were,
Oh,
they'd
interesting.
work one day with a client and then get their contact and work behind the agency's back. So the agency wasn't making any money. And I was quite happy because I didn't have to do anything. Now I have to do all the accounting, the paperwork, finding the clients,
Got it.
etc. Having said that, because I've been here for 10 years, the clients know me. So
Mhm.
it's not been too much of a pain. But if I'd just come here in Colombia, it would be very hard for me to get my name out. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the same thing, like respecting that process of as a newcomer, uh, first go and make a name for yourself before you can think about doing anything independently.
Yeah. But a lot of the top models, so I think that's a
Mhm.
point of consideration. Like the top models usually have an agency. It just makes you look more professional. And unless you're great at negotiating, which I'm terrible at, an agency is very important because they'll negotiate on your behalf, and
Right.
it's in their interest and yours,
Of
obviously,
course.
that a certain tariff is respected. Whereas if you have to deal directly with a client, they can really just take you for a walk and bring the price right down.
How competitive of a market do you think it is? Globally, not just in Latin America, but what do you think about the competitiveness?
I think it is a pretty competitive market because it's usually a job that pays well. The hours are relatively easy. The job itself is relatively easy, so it's a cool thing to do. Um, I think that the fact that you have influencers coming into the mix adds on to the competition because
Right.
it makes sense for a brand to pick an influencer with, let's say, 1 million followers
Of
and just pay
course.
them, and they know that they have direct access to 1 million followers for whatever publication they make. And if that influencer is also good looking, you've killed two birds with one stone. So influencers are added into the mix. Yeah, it's quite a sought after market, but I think there's plenty of room in there for newcomers. Old models are coming out, so there's space for the newer generation to come in. Yeah, I think it's sought after, but there's a lot of room still, definitely.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
you mentioned this as like a lot of the positive sides, and yes, it is a job that a lot of people dream about. Could you perhaps tell us a bit more about the negative sides? And I was thinking more particularly about castings in general and how it can be perceived. As you need to go through quite a big number of castings in order to generate proper revenue. Um, yeah, can you tell me us a little bit more about that and how you experienced it?
Definitely. Luckily enough, in Colombia, for some reason, they tend to look at your Instagram, and if you fit the bill, done. When I first came here, I did have to go through a few more castings in person because people didn't know me. But usually, if you take Colombia aside, castings are the norm. For example, in Mexico, I have quite a few friends, model friends, who are in DF in Mexico, and they might just have months of castings and nothing come out of it. And that's just, you might get, 2, 3, 4 castings a week, nothing. It's just quite a saturated market. Depends on your niche. If you're, say, if your self confidence perhaps is a little bit low, or you're insecure about certain things, you might take that personally, and that could perhaps get you down. Um, my advice would be, don't pay attention to that. You're just not the model for that campaign. That's it. Obviously, if after a year you've had absolutely no result, then I think perhaps modeling isn't for you. But look at the norm. For example, in Mexico City, you can easily go through a month of castings and have nothing come out, and that's the norm. And we're talking good-looking guys and girls, and it's just so much out there. Um, but yeah, castings are part of it. That's part of the job. That's, some people don't like. You're just there for a few hours, usually quite a few hours, and take a good book, do some work, and that's the downside.
Except from that part, is there any other negative side of modeling in terms of, let's say a woman model that I wouldn't feel self-degraded essentially if a client didn't take me, or is there anything that photographer potentially, or something like that, that people would have to be aware about, or you could give some advice to people about how to mitigate that risk and what to do?
Sure. All right, so let's say some other downsides about modeling. The work itself can be a little bit monotonous or repetitive, especially if you're doing commercial shoots. So let's say, for example, I don't know, you're an artist, you're an architect or whatever, and you really like your job. It's fascinating. You can just be there working and it's creative. If you're a model, you're just a clothes hook pretty much. So they put clothes on you, you pose left, right, front, back, bam, and you just do that over 80 times in one day, and that's it. That's your day. So that can be a little bit bland. We usually talk, there's music, etc. But do that over and over and over, 3-4 days a week for 10 years. You're like, okay, there's more to life than that. But that's just me personally. Some people might find that fascinating. So it's very subjective. In terms of photographers or people making one feel uncomfortable, in the 10 years I've been modeling, it's happened really seldomly. You might get someone just do a comment that's a little bit say a comment that's a little bit inappropriate. I'm usually quite outspoken, so I'll just tell them. I'll say, hey, that's not cool, or whatever. Or if I see it done to someone else, But no, usually it's a very, very respectful ambiance, especially because we work in our underwear, we get changed, and you see a lot of titties, a lot of butts. So it's just not the space to be groping and staring. Just people are professional; they care about their work. In terms of self-image, negativity, again, I think it depends on your self-confidence. Everyone ages, everyone has good days, bad days, puts on weight, white hair's coming. It's just part of life. You can't take it to the heart.
Absolutely.
Aging's natural, and acne, whatever.
Well, plus we see more and more older models now in the industry as well. It's so there's not really a definite age to be doing this.
Well, you have older people buying products, and the brands want to appeal to their clients. So it makes no sense having a teenager, modeling a Breitling watch or whatever, when we know that their clients are 50-year-old men. So you have, like I said, you have your niche. As I get older, I'm now doing father campaigns and all that kind of stuff. Whereas before I used to do more teenager, riding bikes, skateboarding. So you kind of evolve with the market. I'm trying to payments. Sometimes clients can be really slow in paying. Really slow. By that I mean like a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually it's about, in Colombia, anyways, it's about 90 working. As you accumulate payments, you kind of get paid regularly. It just takes a little bit of time. Things like the big taboos, anorexia, etc. Personally, I've never seen that in the modeling. Firstly, because if you don't look healthy, that's not usually
appealing.
Yeah, it's not appealing. With all due respect to anorexic, I hope they recover, but the model has to be appealing, healthy looking, usually, for the brands to sell their product. So they want a healthy individual that looks after themselves. So it's actually a positive motivator for the model to train, to eat well, to sleep well. It's usually more positive than negative. Yeah.
And can we consider that? I mean, a couple of years back, like there was a lot of, like you said, taboo around this, but some whistleblowers and campaigns really brought this to the light. And so would you say that was kind of the moment when this norm of overly thin people kind of withered away?
I think that the South American market is completely different to the European market, maybe North American. The aesthetics here are very different. I don't know if you've ever looked at catalogs from here, but the women are all voluptuous. They all have huge bums. They're usually, the figure eight style voluptuous woman. And then the men are usually more butch, muscular. All right. Whereas once we go back to, if you go back to Europe, the women tend to be, and the men, a little bit more, I think it's andromorph.
Hmm.
They tend to look
Hmm.
rect, just straight lines, skinny. So it's very different markets. In Colombia, South America, we've not been affected by that over skinny look. So I can't
Right,
speak
right.
of personal experience, but I have
Hmm.
appreciated what's happened in Europe, definitely. And I think
I
it's a
get
shame.
it goes back a little bit to what you're saying in the beginning, is really choose your niche, and in function of what you look like, then don't start over changing your personal image for to fit a market or an
Yeah.
agency.
And I think if you already have perhaps an eating disorder or very low self esteem, I would try and resolve that before going into modeling. Just you need to be slightly strong minded and secure with regards to your appearance
Hmm.
before you go into that world, because you're going to get observations and critiques and comments because you're the product. So they want to modify you to some extent according to their needs. And you need to take it on the chin and just be like, okay, you want me to cut my hair, lose a little bit of weight here, do this, do that. And that's part of it. That's your job to an
Hmm.
extent, obviously.
Yeah, very interesting. No, so it's a couple things for the guys out there that are looking to get into it. So Charles has given a couple of really good points. If you're looking to go into modeling, one is speak to a model, speak to someone who's already in the industry, get some connections with good agencies, focus on your niche. Charles, feel free to step in if focus on your niche, whether it be on the catwalks or in magazines, or and then work from there and work your way from there. Build up an audience. If you have one agent, work with them. Do you think that crossing,
And
let's
have a
say,
plan
what
B,
and a plan B?
And
Yeah,
a plan B.
exactly. That's one. I forgot about
which you
that
should
point.
have anyway. You should
Should
be
have anyway.
doing, I'm not saying modeling isn't a proper career, but study something if you can, or have another side hustle. It's definitely worth it. You can do both. It's one of those jobs that allows you to do both. And if it doesn't allow you, it means that you're absolutely raking it in, and then that's great. Take advantage of that, save some aside, and then you can decide what investment.
Got it.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's
go
that's
ahead.
great.
actually an interesting. Sorry, I was just going to add. It's an interesting topic you mentioned as well. Is I suppose that if you're starting your modeling career quite young, then perhaps you don't really know how to manage your money yet, and you see all this money coming into your account, and without really thinking about your later days and how it will serve you more properly if you invest it wisely, rather than starting to spend a lavish life, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen that quite a bit. I don't know if you're familiar with the socioeconomics of Colombia, but there's huge difference between the wealthy and the poor. I mean,
Hmm.
ridiculous difference. The minimum wage here is about dollars per month, um, and every now and then you'll have a girl coming from those areas, those slightly, let's say, economically less favored areas, and they'll get into the modeling world, and they'll come across what to them is, they'll get paid in one day what will take them 3 months to accumulate, you know. So it's a huge deal for them. And they haven't been exposed to that kind of money before. And first thing that comes to mind, I've seen a lot of the time is just, you know, Louis Vuitton handbags,
Right.
some Jimmy Choo shoes, nice car, all that stuff, and they just burn their money. And it
Hmm.
happens.
That's another
Uh,
good piece of advice. Yeah, for those out there, really being able to manage their funds carefully, and maybe taking advice from older models that where to deploy their capital. That's definitely something that I guess is useful for those of you out there that could be looking at getting into the industry. Yeah.
And there's
Definitely.
one subject we didn't really talk about, is also social media presence. And obviously, in this day and age, it's kind of mandatory, if you want to have any type of following or public image, to appear as well on social media. How have you lived that, like, as a model, and how did it impact your life on a daily basis?
But I'm a really private person, really private person. Part of the reason why I don't like doing catwalks is because I don't like having too many eyes on me. a little bit ironic as a model, but
Yeah.
yeah, I actually grew an account up to 30K and then closed it because I couldn't handle it. I didn't like people messaging me and stuff. So now I have a private account, but that's just me. I'm weird like that. I like to keep myself to myself. Even my private account is literally just for brands. So I'll put modeling pictures on there, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's me. Now I know a lot of love interacting with the public and posting whatever they ate last night and where they're going today and all that, and that's cool. And that'll grow your Instagram, and that's an extremely useful tool for that world. It's completely subjective. So I think yeah, if you can grow it, that's your portfolio.
Right.
Before Instagram, people used to have a physical portfolio with their photos, and they'd show that to the clients. Now you just send them your IG link, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big deal, and it's worth having it aesthetically done and professional, definitely.
Mhm. So you would say that perhaps this is also a major starting point for anybody who's looking into to work as a model.
Yeah, yeah. I think getting some good pics. It's the first image a client sees of you. Usually,
Mm.
it's usually one of the first images. They'll either see you in person or check out your Instagram. Yeah, your Instagram first, and then they'll be like, okay, that guy's pretty cool. Let's call him for an interview. So it's got to be consistent. Your Instagram has got to be consistent with who you are as a person when they see you.
Right.
By that I mean not too much enhancement of Photoshop or whatever. It's usually Polaroids is what they ask for, just white wall, and then photo of your
Take it from
face,
there.
your body, whatever, and then a few conceptual pictures as well.
Do you get a lot of brands that are coming to you through the social media platform, let's say directly through Instagram, that would want to collaborate with you and work with you? Or would that, if you did, that just be passed on to your agent and they take care of that? Or how would you deal with that?
So when I had an agency, clients that would contact me through IG, I'd pass them on to my agency. Now that I'm independent, I just deal with them directly. And yeah, it happens quite a bit. Even though, like I stressed, I'm not very active on social media, what I do have does get certain exposure. And yeah, every now and then I'll get clients contacting me through that.
Mm-hmm. And would you say it's important to kind of, like as you said, have like a professional approach to the account itself? Would you say it's a better idea to have it a little bit more general, so it can be viewed, in any type of context, like artistic, commercial, or high-end fashion, or would you say that it's better to actually start, branding your niche on your
Yeah,
Instagram page?
it's up to you, but being able to show versatility in your modeling approach, that can be quite enticing to the clients, and you'll be appealing to a more broader public. Um, you have to differentiate between a model and an influencer. They're two different kind of people. But
Right.
I follow a few top models, and yeah, they show their jeans and what they've ate. But it'll be a good angle. Usually be a complimentary picture of themselves or video, whatever. You always have to bear that in mind, that you're the model, you want to show off a certain image, and that needs to be reflected in whatever you decide to publish. But yeah, versatility, I think, is definitely a positive thing. It's another bow to your string, and that can only be a good thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Now, yeah, just to kind of finish on the social media topic, because when we mentioned castings, for example, and adverse effects that can have, psychologically speaking, I would say that there's a kind of similarity with social media as well, right? Because you're looking to expose yourself to the public, and you're going to get reactions from the public. So then it's kind of the same type of process of where it can devalue your self-image, or the contrary, and that would be, of course, the best. Well, even then, because you can get an overinflated self-image, right, as well. So how do you feel that balance is kept nowadays, since Instagram is the mainstream way to do this?
Criticism and comments and all that, they pretty much go into the same bag. It's a stressor. Um, and with any stressor, you can either succumb to it and just crumble, or you can use it as a positive stimulus to grow and become a stronger person. That's the world. It's out there, whether it's through social media or at the cashier or whatever. You're going to be stressed out, stressed at in some form or another. How you manage that stress is going to be determinant as to whether you grow as a person or you just, like I said, crumble. It's, you can't avoid it, and I personally look at it as a positive thing. I don't manage it, bother to deal with it. I'm not on my phone much. I don't like taking selfies or showing what, just because I can't be bothered.
Hmm.
But if you can be bothered and use that as a tool to grow, and you deal with it positively, it's great. I think it'll make you a stronger person, more self-confident person as well. It's it's a coin. It has two sides to it. It's completely subjective in how you manage it.
Do you think modeling has made you a stronger person, and more comfortable, or the opposite? Has it made you the opposite? Where do you think it's taken you?
I think it's made me more self-conscious, but in a good way. And I'd say that modeling itself hasn't been such a major part in my personal growth as an individual. It has contributed to it somewhat, but I'm not a model. I work as a model. You get models who are models. So I just show up and I'm back to my doing my thing. You have some models, they go home and they'll carry on taking selfies and doing the whole model life, and that's cool. That's their thing. I went to work and I leave it. Done.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of the difference between viewing it as a career and a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
And maybe
cool.
can you tell us a little bit more, now that you've, explored your plan A, which have been majorly um, modeling for the past 10 years, what your prospects are now? You're talking a little bit about your furniture and you also mentioned property development. So maybe
Yeah.
tell us a bit more.
I believe that everyone has a purpose. I really do. And I think that if you manage to come across that, if you manage to find what really motivates you, what your drive is, what your passion is, and that's the key to a lot of success, a lot of happiness. Um, and that I was working as a model, making money, that was cool, but I was never really filled. I don't know if that applies in English. I was never
Fulfilled.
content,
Yeah.
satisfied, fulfilled, exactly. And then one day I had an epiphany, with the help of some stuff. I realized that the environment was, it was always on the back of my mind, but the environment was such a big deal for me. By that, I mean ecosystem, conserving
Hmm.
our planet, taking care of it. I started reading a lot of Carl Sagan stuff,
Hmm.
and I thought, right, how can I have a positive impact on the environment? And I just linked two things that I like, which is art and furniture, and making functional art out of sustainable materials, wood from sustainable trees. So every time we cut a tree, we plant another one. We're not taking anything from the rainforest. It's trees that are designated for that. The fabrics we use are eco-friendly. So the tanning agents are natural tanners. I don't know if you know, but ironically, the clothes industry is one of the most contaminants there is. So as a model,
Absolutely.
I'm very
Yeah.
conscious of that. And that was a realization, which I came to quite late. Um, and I'm part of that. I'm modeling this stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, I wanna come away from that and take care of the. So I'm on this project making sustainable, functional art, and behind that is a message. Basically, through the social media, the information is going to be published as to how we can all contribute positively to the environment. It's more than a furniture brand. It's a way of life, a way of taking care. That's what I'm on at the moment.
Great to hear, man. It's definitely, you know, um, I understand that, this quest of fulfillment kind of led you there. And I think this is also a very good piece of advice of any young people who are trying to, build their career up is to try and find a purpose.
Oh
And,
yeah,
we're all
definitely.
we're all looking after this on the pursuit of
I don't know if
happiness,
it was
right?
the case for Vlad. Our school, I felt, was pretty competitive, positively. So a lot of schools, it's cool to be the bad boy and to have the bad grades and stuff. In ours, it was completely the opposite. If you had bad grades, you were the loser. If you had good grades, the winner, so to speak. Vlad and I remember we were just riding our bikes, drinking beers before our last exams, completely unmotivated. I had zero drive in school because I didn't have a passion, and
Hmm.
there's no, I don't know, the teachers, whatever, and I had problems at home. And then you go from that stage to shit, now I need to go to university. What do you do? I had absolutely no idea. Just literally open the newspaper with my stepfather and you just scroll down and, oh, osteopathy, what's that? Bones and stuff. All right, cool. That was my decision. So, what I'm saying in a nutshell is if you're at that age where you're doing your final exams, I'm very much in favor of taking a gap year or two, a productive gap year, to really find out, you know, what are your passions? Had I done that, I would definitely not have studied osteopathy. I would have studied something to do with environmental engineer or whatever. So
Hmm.
take your time. At 18, 17, you're still very young. You can take a couple of gap years as long as they're productive. You need to have that premise. And yeah, stuff like meditation, read, that can help you make that decision, I believe.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's I mean, on a personal note, it's been quite similar. It wasn't until I really found something that was fulfilling to me that I was able to get the most productivity out of myself. It really pushes you to the extreme limits of what you're able to do and how productive you can actually be. Because of course, if you're just going to work for a salary, coming home and play repeat, it's
Yeah,
there's no fulfillment there.
totally agree. Totally agree. So, with regards to modeling, if you feel that that's your passion that motivates you, then just grab it, run with it. That's yours. And if not, it doesn't matter. It can be the bridge to something else. It can
Mm.
provide you with that financial stability, like it did for myself, until I
Hmm.
found out what it was I wanted to do. It's one of
Meet a lot
those
of new
words.
people,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly. But
And
it's
the
sad to
other
see people. Go ahead, lad.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, the other thing, I was always keen to know is that, having your girlfriend, soon to be wife, and, being obviously a very attractive guy that you are, being around other models,
Can I add just ridiculously hot and attractive?
ridiculously hot and attractive. Um, you know, Someone has to have self-discipline and have found their being already, right? That nothing else is worth it anymore. Their being, where they want to go, what path they've already chosen that path. So to that person yourself, you know, you see it as a pure job, as you said. You come there, you take your photo shoot, and then you leave,
Yeah,
and you see it as work. That's a real, advice out there as well. Find, what you want, right, to move forward.
yep,
So
totally.
anyway, okay, cool. I think, well,
Maybe
that's
Charles,
amazing.
what happened?
Oh, we could put some clapping in there, cheering.
Oh,
Um,
okay, I didn't hear it.
yeah,
Um,
I don't know why they did that, but yeah, I think that's it. Niels, you have anything else you want to?
yeah, I just wanted to add, just since if you want to plug in your brand of furniture, we can probably add it also into a link in the description. But if you want to plug it right now, give our audience a little bit of the name and where they can find you.
Man, I really appreciate the gesture, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm so bad with social media. I haven't even gotten anything up.
Okay.
The brand's
Okay,
been
that's
operating
good.
for about 3 years, and I don't even have an Instagram. Partly because I'm a perfectionist, partly because I'm pretty clueless with Instagram. But as soon as it's up, Definitely. Because I want to showcase everything, and like I said, the material, the content is really important. But because of that, I want to do it well. So I'm in that process. As soon as it's done, it'll come out. But we're selling, we're creating furniture, refurbishing places, planting trees. The charitable organization is called O2 Reserve. If you want to check that out and do a contribution, that would be amazing. O2, like oxygen, and that's in Santa Marta, the Colombian coast, and trees are being planted, private lands being bought up specifically for that purpose, which is what I want to do with my profit. Buy land, plant trees. That's it. That's my aim in life. Just buy land and plant trees.
That sounds like a good plan, man.
Yeah. All right. Modeling is a cool career for all you young cats out there. It's good. Don't take it too. It's not. It's just you're just selling stuff. You're just selling stuff for other people. That's all. You know, you're not the dog's bollocks. Sorry if you can say bollocks, but you're just another person. Anyone can do your job. You're nothing special. You just happen to be good looking or whatever. Yeah. Just take it. You know, take it lightly. Have fun. Make sure you have a plan B. Find yourself a modeling agency or a good manager. Find your niche, and then give it a try. Worst case scenario, you don't like it, just stop. That's it.
Nothing to lose there.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
There you go. Give it a shot, guys.
And if you're a guy, consider Colombia, because there's a paucity of guys.
I'm on my way.
Because
We're on our way. All right. Thanks a lot, Charles.
You're welcome.
Okay. See you later.
Thank you for being with us.
Love. Ciao.
Bye-bye.